Welcome back to a Keystone and More video. This one is a ranking video where we'll be ranking our favorite potential NHL outdoor games, possibly 5 to 10 of them. We don't know yet. We'll also be covering some NHL hockey and some NCAA basketball. The NCAA basketball season is winding down, nearing close, just 2 weeks from Selection Sunday, and the NHL season winding down with each team only having about 15, 16 games left. So a very exciting Monday video.
Yeah, Nick, like you said, you texted me earlier today. You said there was Big 12 basketball today. Tonight at 9 o'clock on ESPN, Texas takes on number 8 Texas Tech. Kansas State coming at 18, taking on TCU, also at 9 o'clock on ESPN2. What does Texas Tech and Kansas State have to play for today?
Well, Texas Tech, in my opinion, is a team that could possibly um, very well be a 2 seed. I honestly think this is a 2, and if some things go their right way, a lot of things would have to go their way. They could become a 1 seed. I don't see that happening. There was a time this year where this team could have been a 1 seed. That time, in my opinion, is past. But this is a big rivalry game versus Texas, and they have not swept Texas since the 95-96 season. Texas is on the bubble. They're looking to make the March Madness tournament also. So this is a very important game for both teams. Texas Tech is a 7.5 point favorite, but Texas Tech does have a lot to play for, as does Texas. And then same thing with Kansas State and TCU. Kansas State more fighting for a 3 or 4 seed. Um, they kind of have their destiny in their own hands as kind of reaching this final week. If Kansas State wins their final 2 games, they get a share of the conference title, and those 2 wins would keep Kansas from winning a share of their 15th straight conference title, which is obviously their biggest rival. And TCU also on the bubble, a team that could possibly make the playoffs. Kansas State's a 1.5 point favorite in that game.
Yeah, and Texas Tech, this is a big game. Texas Tech, Kansas State. I know they're not playing each other, but they're both coming out 1-2 in the Big 12. No one's out yet coming. I know Iowa State has dropped a lot. They are 9-7 right now in the Big 12, but they're not done. They play pretty well postseason play. When they come into the Big 12 tournament, it's like Hilton South down where they play in St. Louis or Kansas State, I think, somewhere around there. But Kansas, they've looking good. They're at 11-5 right now. So this is a Big 12 that's pretty much open right now from what we've seen. Other than West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, they're dropped off a lot, but they can still beat the good teams. They've beaten Iowa State. Both like West Virginia and Oklahoma State have beaten Iowa State this year. So these are a conference that every single team can be hot, but they can also drop off. I know, like you've seen Kansas University, they've been great in the past couple of years, but they're 13 right now. So it's very wide open, so we could see anything.
Yeah, and this is going to be very weird because as we've been hearing about for a while, Kansas has won 14 straight regular season conference titles, and that may come to an end because of how strong this conference is. Your Iowa State team, they play West Virginia, who's struggled this year, but as you've previously mentioned, West Virginia always is a good program, always scary no matter what. And then a big game on senior night versus Texas Tech this upcoming Saturday. But we're in this last week of the season, and there's a game out here on the East Coast that also is of importance that I didn't even really talk to you about earlier. But we got Virginia taking on Syracuse at 7 o'clock, and Syracuse is Virginia is obviously probably a 1 seed no matter what, even if they lose to Syracuse, which I don't see that happening. But even if that were to happen, that wouldn't be a bad loss because obviously the ACC tournament coming up, and Syracuse is probably going to be a 5 or 6 seed. They'd be the 6th seed if it was going on right now, and things could change as they still play Virginia and then Clemson, and that Clemson game is going to be very big for Syracuse, as is this game tonight. So that's very exciting. And then tomorrow we got a packed schedule with Nebraska playing Michigan State, Duke playing Wake Forest, Tech and Florida State, 2 ACC teams vying for a high seed in the tournament. Buffalo, your most hated team, playing Ohio. Purdue playing Minnesota. UNC taking on Boston College. Tennessee playing. Kentucky playing. Kansas and Oklahoma. Nevada, who just lost their third game of the year, their first game in conference play. So we got a lot of big games tomorrow, and then obviously we got a lot of big games throughout the week as we near the end of the regular season as conference tournaments start up. next week around the 11th and 12th of March.
Yeah, and like you said with the ACC, this has probably been more interesting now for the past couple of weeks since Zion Williams has been hurt. But like before, probably a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago, we could have said who's winning the ACC? Oh, Duke. Why? Because they've been so strong. Now Zion Williams is injured, and when he comes back, if he comes back, he's still going to be still injury riddled with that. And needs to be more careful. So this ACC tournament is wide open between Duke, Florida State, Virginia Tech, and UVA. So this is a team. This is a conference that look for a 5, 6 teams that could even make a push. Even Louisville or Syracuse could make a push for making this conference run and even making a postseason in March Madness tournament.
Yeah, and on the upcoming podcast, which will be on Sunday, March 10th or Saturday, March 9th, we plan to talk about these conference tournaments from these bigger conferences that start up next week. And this is going to be a fun one to talk about, a longer one to talk about, too, because you got 14 teams. And honestly, you could argue there definitely could be an argument to be made that 8 or 9 of them have a decent shot. Besides Pittsburgh, Notre Dame's having a rough year.
Wake Forest,
Miami, Georgia Tech, and Boston College.
I think that
everybody else
is good. Yeah.
Everybody else could realistically either make the semifinals or finals. So that's gonna be a fun one to talk about.
And this is also college basketball, so I'm not gonna count out Pitt, Notre Dame, Wake Forest. They can still make a push. It's probably gonna be very unlikely that they will make a push for the championship for the ACC. But any team is never out of it.
And also the harder thing about being the lower seeds is you have to play more games.
Yeah,
to
of course.
Make it further. So that is definitely a disadvantage.
Of course, yes. And so it will be very interesting. Selection Sunday, like you said, 2 weeks away. In 2 weeks, we will give you our March Madness predictions. Selection Sunday is on a Sunday, like obviously. So that's about 6. So around 8:30, we will go and fill out our March Madness brackets in front of you guys, telling you who we think will win and who do you think will be Cinderella story and all that stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Because this is probably one of the most interesting college basketball seasons I've paid attention to. It's not always one-sided. Like Duke has always been one-sided. Big 12 has been one-sided. But now these two conferences are wide open. But moving on to the more central part of our ranking today, well, like you said, we're ranking the best or our favorite potential outdoor games where there might be. So Nick, let's get started. What do you want to start with? Or who do you want to start with?
So I guess the one that I would really like to see as a Flyers fan is the Capitals and the Flyers, in whether that be in DC or Philly, or what I think would be really a great neutral location would be Baltimore. It's right in the middle of the two cities. So any 3 of those could work, and I would just like to see the Flyers take on the Capitals because I feel like there's always a little something there. I don't know why. Because maybe it's because both of them have a hatred for the Pens for different reasons, but they still both have a hatred for the Pens. So that could be it. But I don't know. There's definitely a rivalry there with Washington and Philadelphia. There's obviously that triangle effect with Washington, Pittsburgh, and Philly. And we still haven't seen Washington and Philly play each other. I would like to see that one, whether that be in Baltimore, Philly, D.C., wherever. So I'll let you have one, Millan.
Yeah, and as a Penguins fan, I think the one that stands out for me, and we haven't really seen these two teams play a lot. I mean, they play each other 4 times a year. Maybe I think 2 times a year, my bad, is Boston and Pittsburgh. I think the Penguins and the Bruins, we don't really see them enough playing against each other except in regular season play.
Yeah, they play each other 3
times a year. Yeah, so, and it's going to be the 2 games in Pittsburgh or 2 games in Boston. And I think this game could either be Fenway Park, it could be in Heinz Field, or you can branch out and make it in Foxborough. That'd be something pretty cool. And that's close to my home. That's like 2 hours away. That's something I could easily make the trip if it's in Boston or in Foxborough. And these teams, we have a rivalry. We strongly dislike each other. It's not as big as Washington or Philadelphia, but it's still a rivalry there. We'll still get pushing shoves, shoving fights and stuff like that. So this is a rivalry that's still there, especially with other sports like the football. It still carries over to football since the Patriots and the Steelers are getting into rivalries now since we play each other a lot. So this is going to be a fun game to potentially see come outdoor come in a couple of years.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But a place that a game that I would really like to see is, so obviously Wisconsin does not have a hockey team. The closest hockey team to them would be Chicago. I do not believe Chicago and Minnesota have played an outdoor game. I could be wrong. But the reason I'd want to see these 2 teams play is because they're both very close to Lambeau Field, which I honestly believe would be a really fun place to see an outdoor game at.
Which
Lambeau
one?
Field,
What 2
Lambeau
teams?
Field.
No, what 2 teams? Sorry.
Oh, Chicago, Minnesota.
Yep.
Lambeau Field. That could be a really fun game. because I mean, not maybe not right now because Minnesota is not at their greatest peak. Neither is Chicago, but there could be a time where both these teams are playing really good, and then they're Lambeau Field, one of the most historic stadiums in America. Those are the two closest teams, so I think those are the two teams that would really work out.
Hmm. So yeah, that's one. I think another team, and we've seen this a lot, and this can go either way. Um, I think LA doesn't have a. Sorry, the Kings. Well, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm sorry. So I think the Kings would be one, and either I think I'm gonna go with Boston for this one. Kings and the Bruins. We've seen a lot of LA, Boston postseason play within the Super Bowl last year and the World Series. So this is something that I would love to see between the Kings and the Bruins, either in Boston or in LA. That would be really fun to see. It keeps that LA Boston rivalry one of the two biggest or two most known cities in America to go at it with each other in an outdoor game.
Yes, very much agree with that one. The next one I would like to see is at West Point, and I would like to see the Lightning play the Rangers at West Point. You're going to say, why the Lightning? And there's a lot of teams I could have used, but the reason I want to use the Lightning is because the Lightning are a team that has never played an outdoor game, and they have a good fan base. And West Point would be a fun place to watch a hockey game for anybody. So I would really like to see the Rangers and the Lightning. The Rangers are the closest NHL franchise to West Point. The Lightning are a team that haven't played. There's other teams I could have used here: the Capitals, the Penguins, the Bruins. But I use the Lightning because the Lightning and the Rangers, they definitely have a little something from back in the day. And the Lightning have never played an outdoor game. West Point has never hosted an outdoor game. It could be a very fun game to watch.
That's a good one. I think this is one I just thought of, and I'm actually pretty proud of this one. I think it's going to be really fun to see the Capitals and the Senators. And you may be thinking why these teams don't really have anything in common. But this is more than just hockey. It's the capital of Canada versus the capital of the United States. So it's not just hockey fan bases. It's USA pride versus Canadian pride here. Playing maybe in Canada or in Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter. But this would be fun to see two countries technically going at it with each other within the NHL.
I definitely agree with that one. And I just thought back to my Capitals Flyers one. Put that game at Camden Yards and just imagine how beautiful it'd be. But anyway, my next one would be the Blue Jackets and the Penguins at Ohio State Stadium in Columbus. It's Ohio Stadium, but they play in 100. It's 104,000 plus seats, and I mean, could you just imagine, that stadium packed to the very last row? Pens Blue Jackets, which is becoming a very interesting and fun rivalry to watch as of right now, and I'd be very excited to see the Blue Jackets take on the Penguins. Obviously a game that's very easy to market, as is any time the Penguins are playing.
Yeah, that's a good one. And another one here for me, it could be San Jose and LA. I know there's three teams in California right now, which makes it really unproportional. But the two, I know in LA, it's not LA. Sorry, San Jose is close to San Francisco, so that's a big rivalry between San Francisco and LA. So I'm assuming most San Francisco fans root for San Jose. So I think that'll be a cool rivalry between LA and San Jose.
I definitely agree. I think that would be a very fun game. The next one, I would have to say Vegas. Vegas deserves an outdoor game. And I would say right now, their biggest rival is probably LA. They met in the playoffs last year in the first round. There seemed to be a little something there. So Vegas versus LA at the new Raiders Stadium when the Raiders move into town.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna also go with Vegas in this one, and I think Vegas's new rival is gonna be Seattle. I just feel it. It's just Las Vegas. I know I used to live in Seattle, and they just hate it. Seattle people in Seattle just hate Las Vegas for some reason. I don't know why, but that's gonna be a fun game, especially two new expansion teams playing in an outdoor game. That would be really fun to watch, whether it's in if it's in the Mariners Stadium or the Seahawks Stadium. It doesn't matter. That would be really cool to watch them play. Or even Seattle and Vancouver, because they live really close. They're really close to each other. That would be really fun to watch too.
Very much agree. I'm going to be the annoying person who says it. I want to say it first. We need a rematch. We need a game 3. We need a Penguins Flyers at Beaver Stadium. Done. Game, set, match. We need a tiebreaker. We need it at Beaver Stadium. It has to be at Beaver Stadium. Can't be in Pittsburgh. Can't be in Philly. Has to be in State College. Has to be Penguins. has to be Flyers.
That would be really fun. We're tied. Yes, and Beaver Stadium's actually, I think it's halfway between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Is it? Is it not?
Yeah, it's practically. I think
Half.
it's about a half an hour closer to Pittsburgh, but very practically middle of the state.
Yeah, so that's gonna. So it won't be one-sided, fan base wise, So half the stadium will be cheering for the Penguins, half the stadium will be cheering for the Flyers. So that'll be very interesting. Another one, I don't know. This would be. I think Texas deserves to have one, even though it's extremely hot. So the Dallas Stars.
They are getting one next year.
Yeah, so I think the Dallas Stars would be really fun to watch. Maybe even like the St. Louis Blues. That'd be fun to see. Just two random teams going at it against each other. Or you can see the Blues and the Blackhawks. They've been going at each other for a long time. On that Sunday afternoon games, I've seen it a lot. They've gone at it, and it's been very. It's never been one sided. Both teams have won a good amount of times. So that'd be fun to watch if it's an outdoor game.
Yes, definitely agree with that one. Another one I'd like to see is Buffalo versus Toronto. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of places this game could be. You could either do it in Toronto, or you could do it in Buffalo, or you could do it in at. You could do it. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of other options. I think you could do it in Buffalo or in Toronto. But Buffalo Sabres versus Toronto Maple Leafs. These are two teams where it's not Toronto's biggest rival, but it is Buffalo's biggest rival, and it always does seem that whenever they play each other, it always does seem to be a 50-50 crowd. No matter how bad the Sabres are, no matter how bad the Leafs are, there's always a pretty 60-40 type of evening out at the stadiums.
Yeah, and just another team that I think would be really cool. Uh, yeah, so this is about halfway. So this is what I think, and this is very interesting. New York Rangers versus the Boston Bruins, and it won't be in New York, and it won't be in Boston. Directly halfway between these two cities is Hartford, where I live, like close to where I live. So if we put it in Rensselaer Field, where the Yukon Huskies play their football game, I think that'd be really fun, especially since Connecticut's broken up between New York and Boston. So you get fan bases from New York and from Boston, but you also get the Connecticut fans into it because you're playing 20 minutes where I live, at least 20, 30 minutes close to where I live, and that'd be fun to watch.
That does sound like a very interesting game in a terrible market.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would ever put it in Hartford, especially considering that the Yukon football stadium, as I'm about to look up, only holds
Not that much.
no, it only holds 38,000 people, not nearly enough for one of these type of games. You need at least like 60,000 for these type of games. So that would probably be a bit of a problem.
It would just be fun for Connecticut. No, I'm not like looking for like it'd just be fun for Connecticut, people in Connecticut, because we don't get anything.
I can see what you're saying, but doesn't really add up. Okay, so the next one I'm definitely gonna get a little hate on, but since I feel like Philadelphia, we're not really getting the marquee events we deserve, considering we're the fourth biggest market in America, and I don't feel like anybody ever remembers that. But we're gonna have the good old Capitals take on the good old Rangers, and they're gonna face in one of the most hated cities in both those cities, Philadelphia, because it's a neutral market. Technically, I mean it's about a half an hour closer to New York. But we're gonna play the game in fucking Chester? No, we're playing the game in Philly. I mean, we could play the game in Chester. There is a soccer stadium that holds about 40,000, but we're gonna play the game in Philadelphia at the most hated stadium in New York, the Link. It's also the most hated stadium in Landover, Maryland. But I think it'd be a really fun game to watch. Capitals, Rangers, two teams that have had a lot of goes at in the postseason. I could also see Pittsburgh in the Rangers. The neutral location would probably be in the middle of the farms of Pennsylvania. So.
It could even be in Philadelphia, somewhere near Philadelphia.
That's way closer. That's way closer to New York, though. It's only 2 hours to New York, 5 hours to Pittsburgh, so definitely be an advantage to.
That's fair. And my next idea here is we've seen this with football and we've seen this now with baseball. I want to see. This is the two teams potential. You could either have a Boston, New York, L.A., New York, Boston, New York, those teams, or whoever won the Stanley Cup. These two teams could play overseas in London, play in Japan, expand the NHL. And I know a lot of other countries play, but in a country that doesn't really have hockey that much, and I think London doesn't really have hockey. Maybe in a less fortunate country, like maybe even Japan, that'd be even fun to watch. That'd be something cool to see.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think for that type of game, you'd have to pick like two big teams, like the Leafs and the Rangers or something like that.
Leafs, yeah.
Like the Leafs and the Rangers are two teams that people know worldwide, even if they're not really a hockey fan. You've definitely heard of the Rangers, and you probably have heard of the Leafs,
Yeah.
or the Canadians. um, or the Vegas Golden Knights. So, those are teams with storied histories. Chicago, big markets, and you put them in. I agree, and you put them in London, in Wembley Stadium, or the new Tottenham Stadium. You put them in these bigger markets, or you put them in. Geez, imagine if you had a game in Rome at
The Coliseum.
the Coliseum. Oh my, can you imagine that?
That would be really cool to see. Like
That
in the
the
Tokyo Dome, somewhere
yeah,
really cool.
in the Tokyo Dome, the same place that uh, what's his name? Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. It's
Yeah,
the same place that happened. So there's a lot of cool events that have happened worldwide. You could play a game in why not Mexico? I mean, the
yeah.
NFL went to Mexico, NFL went to China,
Go to
NHL
Australia.
NHL has went to China. The NHL is trying to expand in China, so an outdoor game would definitely help them there.
Yeah, another team that I would also see. And we haven't. I don't think we've seen this in any Winter Classic or Stadium Series. Bruins and the Canadians. That's a big rivalry there. That
We have seen that. We have
I've
seen
seen,
that before. Right?
but I think it's new because the teams have gotten better now. So I think the rivalry is fading away a little bit, not as much.
I do definitely disagree with that statement. The rivalry is well on the
It's
line.
well, it's still there, but it's not as talked as much as. It's less publicized as than like the Penguins in the Flyers. So just to reinforce it again, I would.
Well, yeah, and I would love to see if these two teams can meet in the playoffs.
Mhm.
They'd have to meet in the second round.
Yeah,
The Canadians would have to beat the Islanders or the Capitals or whoever wins the fucking Metro. I don't even know what's going to happen there. The Metro, for all wondering, is an interesting division at the moment. A lot's going on in the NHL playoff race, and a lot will continue to happen over these last 15 games. But the point is, yeah, I mean, I would love to see Montreal and Boston again. It was fun when they did it in Foxborough, and I would love to see it again.
that would be really fun. Another team,
I,
Panthers and Lightning, two Florida teams. Let's battle it out. Battle of Florida. Because we got
put it at Disney World.
Yeah, Orlando. Put it anywhere, really. That'd be
Yeah, put it at
really.
Raymond James.
Yeah, that'd be something really
Put
fun.
it in the Trop. I dare them to do a game in the Trop. That would be the best thing.
That would be really bad. But yes.
Hey, the Lightning played like their first 2 years there. It wasn't called the Trop back then, but it was the same place.
Yeah.
Location.
That'd be interesting, especially since it's in Florida, so it's really warm there. You'd have to probably do it really during
They
like
did a
January.
game in California.
Yeah, but California doesn't get as warm as Florida does. But
Florida's got nice breeze in there.
yeah, it would have to be during December, January, that month.
Yeah, it would have to be a Winter Classic.
But yeah, that I don't have any more.
Me neither.
I think we exhausted that. But I definitely do think they should do one Stanley Cup final. Two teams the two Stanley Cup final teams should play in a stadium series.
I think that would definitely be a fun idea. And if you think of it, I think the Flyers and the Blackhawks always have something, so I wouldn't mind seeing that one.
Yeah, that would be one. Yeah.
Neutral location or just put it in Soldier Field or something.
What would be really cool is I know this would be really. I don't see this happening, but stadium series first game of the year against the two Stanley Cup final teams. I don't think it'll happen, but that'd be something that most people would tune into.
I don't think they would ever do that. I don't really think it would either. I don't really even think. Here's my problem with that idea is I think when you're doing these outdoor games, they need to be in the winter because if you do them in a non-winter season,
October's starting to get cold. That's when.
That's only where you live in Connecticut because you're in New England. Most parts of the country in October are still 50, 60 degrees. There's still normal temperatures in most places across the country. That's why the Winter Classic's in January. That's why the Stadium Series is after the Winter Classic in February because that's where it's really cold nationwide besides your southern markets. But even then, by your point, by December and January, your mid-Atlantic is cold. All your Midwest is cold. Your whole West Coast is cold. Everybody but the South is cold. So therefore, it works out. If you do it in October, everybody is not in the winter mood yet. That's why the game's in January. That's why it increases. That's why the ratings are really good. Because people love watching outdoor hockey when it's cold out.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Because you always play in the East. An East team's always going to make it to the Stanley Cup final, so you could potentially always play it in the East. But yeah, that is true. But that's probably going to wrap it up for right now because we exhausted this topic a lot, more than I thought, actually.
Definitely had fun with it, though.
We did. I had fun. So give us more rankings that you have because rankings are fun.
They're
Nick,
fun, but they're hard to think of ideas for.
Yeah, that is true. Nick turned down a very good idea, in my opinion, of the
It was not a good
best
idea.
Olympic sports between summer and winter.
I never watched an Olympic sport in my life.
I
So.
could do. You're missing out on a lot of cool exotic sports. But that's gonna wrap it up. Definitely Sunday we're gonna talk about conference championships for college basketball, because that is the doors for most conferences are wide open, especially in the Big 12 and the ACC. But we'll see you guys next time.